Welcome, music creators of all kinds. I'm Marshall Shaw with more music creation ideas to help celebrate the arts in you. So today we are looking at aleatoric music. Alea coming from the Latin for dice. Ooh, gambling? Oh, wait a minute, that's chance music. A method to help suggest a musical idea when you're a little bit stagnant and can't find one. So, chance music is using words, any words, to find the musical alphabet notes within it. That's A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. And for this example today, I've asked a friend who is a fellow user of StaffPad. His name is Conrado Manuel Narciso del Rosario. Quite a long name, which is actually really good for this because every musical letter in red there is going to give us some chance of a melody. I've taken the musical notes, highlighted them in red, and placed them on a treble staff. Hopefully through this you will see some form of a melody, a short phrase, an ostinato or a motif, a small melodic fragment. This famous phantom-like four-note figure serves as a fine example of motif writing. Now let's listen to our group of notes. What comes to your mind when you hear this group of notes played? I suddenly realize how lucky we are to have this group of notes that when played with eighth notes sounds melodic already. So let's see what we can do with it. So I'm going to add the usual things and get our staff ready. So I'll meet you on the other side. I couldn't help noticing while I set up the score that the key for this was spelled out in the first two or three notes, and that would be A minor. So I've gone ahead and picked A minor, and it to me flows better in 3/4. So that's what we're going to do. Quarter note C, half note A, and then I want to repeat that. So it repeats a small version of a motif, 2 notes, and modify the first note there in this bar to a D to A. And then I'd like to take the rest of the chance music motif notes from the name and go with 6/8 notes and see how that goes. Let's extend the last note. So it's a 4-bar phrase built up of 2 motifs, which you're going to hear throughout the entire piece. What I'd like to do now is to modify the tempo. So you insert text, type in 110 beats per minute, and I think that's a perfect tempo, not too slow, not too fast. And now I'd also like to add in from the utility category to the staff, I would like to choose chords and tempo for 2 purposes: to modify tempo throughout and to see what chords that StaffPad analyzes our music to. And you can see it's chosen those chords. Let's listen to it. At this point, let's add the left hand part. And as I said earlier, I am in agreement with these chords. I'm going to modify them slightly as I add in another layer. So let's start like this. I want the left hand part to be very flowing. Okay, so now let's listen to it. Now I'm very happy with that. So what I'm going to do is take the first 3 bars from the treble staff and copy that and paste it into bar 5, 6, and 7. Now there is a new feature in StaffPad recently with a 3-finger touch to the screen brings up a copy paste. So I'm trying to remember to use that and not the old one. So once that's done, we can work with the left hand part. So I'll just speed up here while I do all of that. So I've added octaves to that by simply drawing notes above the initial notes and then dragging them up. Again, that's, for me, the easiest method for doing octaves until StaffPad has that feature built in. Okay, so let's copy the left-hand part, at least for 2 bars, and I'm going to modify this bar here and move the 1 note to an F, and it's going to create a little bit of tension and resolve slightly on the next bar. So let's continue and add the motif number 2, which is the 5-note motif in the key of D minor. And this is the chance you take with these motif writing exercises, is to hope that the motif will fit at different places and sound natural and not contrived. So you play around with it, and you'll notice that I'm playing with motif 1, which is the quarter followed by the half note, and then the second motif, the 5-note, usually in 8th notes. The treble clef here, I'm just adding bell-like sounds, and they're not too dissonant. They're separated by a tone, so that's very, very easy on the ear. I'm adding a legato marking on them to basically have them ring a little bit longer. And again, I'm thinking of very light bell tones. To continue, I would like to have a thought about where this is going, and I will continue with the 5-note motif in the left hand, and I'm going to repeat that twice because I want it to lead us into the next section. And of course, the motifs will be used within the next section, and you'll feel that you've heard that before, and the new key will be also something fresh. The second motif, the 5-note motif, is now in the left hand, and the right hand part is just basically octave E's, nothing very melodic about that. So I've set up a bridge passage, which is this one here. This bar is going to take us to the double bar line, and that signifies a key change, and I'm thinking going from A minor simply to F minor, and that's in 4 flats. And these 3 notes will take us there in doing that. So I'm changing the key. You'll see how I'm doing that. So there we have our F minor now. And I want to add octaves in the left-hand part. And this is how I do it. And then I move everything in place using my ear as best I can. Octave C's, octave E flat, and then octave F's. Not always pleasant to listen to getting the octaves ready to go with so many ledger lines. So what I want to do now is add the right hand part with a group of 3/8 notes taking us to F minor. And basically I'm going to add chords here on each of the eighth notes. So I'll meet you a little bit later when this is done. I'm going to add the first note as a mega chord, an F minor chord, and it will be played by left and right hand. So you'll see I don't separate it into the left hand only because I want the arpeggio to play right and treat it all as one sound, one position, and you'll see what I mean right here when I put it in. If you break it up and put 3 notes or 4 notes in the left hand part, it doesn't play the arpeggio well. It plays them sort of separately. Okay, so there is our motif, our 5-note motif as I was telling you about earlier. And that's going to keep the consistency of this piece. And then I'm going to add a 4/4 time signature so it all fits. Because I wanted the first note to be a little bit longer, a dotted quarter. So that's the reasoning behind that. And again, here we go into the octaves. So now the right hand has the motif number 1 in strong chords, F minor, and the left hand has the motif number 2. So I'm just adjusting it so we have proper octaves. And we've already talked about the famous motif number 2, so let's have a peek at where it's used. Right there, and the bar before, and right back to the very beginning, the third bar. Okay, so that's the motif number 2, and of course you've seen the motif number 1. We're on it now. Let's continue. Now I'm setting up this bar, which is going to lead to the climax of the piece. And what I want to add in the left-hand part are some triplet figures, and that's going to push us forward to this climactic bar. And in that bar, I would like to not have triplets, but have a contrasting 8th note grouping of 2s, and that pulse to push us to the climax. Almost a punctuation. So let's see what that looks like. And this shows the 2 feeling of those 8th notes in this bar, pushing towards the climax, which I want to be played in a strong octave bass, pedal F. And this will signify, as I said, the climax. And the right hand will be a figure that leads us into a bridge section of less than a bar, back to A minor and the restatement of the theme. the theme number, motif number 1. So here we go. At this point, we're in B flat minor, leading into the repeat of the opening 8 bars, and I can call that the A theme. And to do that, I want to go from B flat minor to A minor with this triplet figure, just gently falling from the F to a C, and the C, of course, is common to both B flat minor and A minor. So that bridges us fairly gently on the ears. I've copied and pasted this section from the initial 8 bars, but I want to try something new at this section of the A minor chord. I'd like to take a risk, and instead of minor, I'd like to make it A major. So this is a technique that's done fairly regularly by composers, and it's just to make the listener perk up a bit, give them a lift, a glimmer of hope, a ray of sunshine, at least for these 2 bars, and brought back into the minor with that F that holds over to the D minor 7th chord. And then we'll finish the piece, and we'll finish the piece with an A 4/5 suspension, which really doesn't give an indication of major or minor, which is what I want, and then finishing the left hand with a pedal A, but I want to finish the entire piece with motif number 1. This will give us a feeling of reminiscence of motif number 1, and then it will fade away in a morendo style. It's always very satisfying to know that you've completed your piece and everything is in place. It's time to shape and mold the piece. It's time to give it its personality, and to do so, I will add articulations, phrase marks, and the most important part is the automation layer where we can adjust tempos and we can bring out right and left hand parts in different ways. Here now is the final version of Chance Motif music. I hope you enjoy. I hope you have enjoyed our musical storytelling through the exploration of chance music using motifs to write music. Please try it out with your full name and see what potential awaits. Any words will do. Maybe Your next musical composition will hit viral status because of this technique. I hope so. Please take a moment to subscribe if you haven't already, like if you have enjoyed it and learned something, and select the bell icon to let you know when I have produced another video. If you try this technique, please share it so we can all grow from the knowledge and experience of each other. Keep making music and celebrate the arts in you as another way to communicate your thinking. I'll see you in the next video, so take care and see you soon.